If you could choose the starting quarterback for the Oklahoma game, who would it be? That's what we're going to talk about at the beginning of the show today. He's Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. Village Vice is brought to you by MyBookie. When you use promo code NEXTROUND at mybookie.ag, they're going to double your initial deposit. That's wild. Nobody else is doing that. So kick off your football season now by using promo code NEXTROUND at mybookie.ag. Zach, this is tough, without being able to watch the practices this week, all of them, and see all the reps. And we're just sort of speculating and having some fun with the discussion. Who do you start at quarterback against Oklahoma, Payton Thorne or Hank Brown?
Yeah, and obviously the way we discuss this and the way fans discuss this is going to be different than the way that the coaching staff discusses it. One, because they have access to way more information, and two, they've got to account for what happens this year. I know fans, especially, I've kind of been guilty of this. Like, you lose 2 games you're not supposed to. It kind of feels like this season is going to be a battle every single week now. It's easy to kind of look to the future and say, well, let's do what's best next year while balancing, can you get some production this year as well? This coaching staff can't do that. This coaching staff, they've got to win and do everything they can to win every single week. Now, where I'll say there is overlap is if it is close, I do think you go with a younger guy at every position right now. And I do think it's close. And I do think Hank Brown should be the starter this weekend.
Yeah. It's, I learn about myself and I learn about other people a lot every football season because it's the truth. I used to fight this a little bit as a fan because I'm not this type of fan. But it is true that a lot of fans after 4 games bail on a season. It's just part of that's the ESPN playoff or bust effect. Part of I get it, but I don't. It's fascinating to me that is a part of that's a part of fandom. Is that if you're 2-2, a lot of fans just throw out the year, and you got 8 games left, and. But I'm not. I'm really not going to beat my head against a concrete wall about that. That is a real thing that happens. I think the question in this discussion is, do you think that Hank Brown is your starting quarterback next season? And if you think that Hank is your starter next season, then I think, you put a lot more weight behind the reps that he's given this year. If you think that you're going to go out and get either a true freshman and give him the reins, I don't know about that.
That makes me nervous.
Yeah. I would think, especially if you're looking at year 3 and now you stack a couple of very good recruiting classes together, as the staff has always said, is kind of what they're going to need to do before they're back up to that upper tier. I don't know that I'm comfortable handing it over to a true freshman. So is it Hank or is it somebody from the transfer portal? Do you say, man, we got burned by not going? If you get burned, like, let's see what happens over the last 8 games. But if you say we were burned by not going and getting the transfer quarterback last year, is that the decision that you decide and determine to make?
Yeah. I do think there's going to be more pressure, both from donors as well as the fan base, to say, regardless of how Hank Brown looks the rest of the year, there is going to be some push, whether it's valid or not. I do think there will be a push to say, hey, Freeze, you've got to go get a quarterback. You can't be in the same situation. And look, and if Hank beats him out, or if Walker White takes that big step in the second offseason, if one of these guys beat him out, okay, whatever, that's fine. We're not in the same situation that we were a year ago. I think that happens. I do think that they will attempt to get a quarterback via the portal. But still, like, what if you don't have to?
Yeah.
What if you don't have to? I mean, I'm not going to judge Hank Brown based off of one half of football in his first SEC game.
Right.
Much like we didn't judge Payton Thorne entirely off of the Cal situation, because we had a full body of work of last season as well. Like, you can't just look at one half. You have to look at a full body of work. And Hank hadn't had a whole lot of time to prove himself one way or the other. We don't know who he is. Yeah. We do have an idea of who Payton is. Now, did I think Payton would be good enough for Auburn to start 4-0 this season? Yes, I absolutely did. And that's kind of where we are right now as an offense. But I get the argument to start both of them. No question about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't see the downside of going young at a lot of these positions. On another show, Brad made the case for Jay Crawford needing to start over Antonio Kite
Sure.
because it's like, let's start these freshmen. If it's close, start the younger guy. I think that's where we're at. And I think a lot of these younger guys are proven that they can hang when given the opportunity. And I do think that goes the same for quarterback.
The older I get, the more I detest hypotheticals and just don't entertain them at all. But it's part of what we do. So I'm going to throw one out there. If you lose a game because you've got a younger player out there who makes a mistake that you could probably you could realistically in the hypothetical say wouldn't make that same mistake. Are you willing to sacrifice the game? Are you willing to sacrifice the present loss for the future assumed gains? If you have a freshman cornerback who
sure,
wrong coverage or whatever, doesn't play the ball the right way and they score, where an older player might have on that rep done it the right way.
I mean, that's impossible to know, though, right? Which is probably why you preface that with you hate hypotheticals. Yeah. So I don't even know how to answer that question. Like,
okay.
I guess if you 100% knew that, then sure, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
Like, why was Zion Puckett in the game in the Iron Bowl? Because you thought he would be the guy that could cover correctly. Yeah. And then, on one play, he didn't, right before half. So, it's just you don't know.
That point, that's who you put in the game. You put in the game the guy you think in that moment, the very next play you run, he's the guy that's going to get the job done.
But I don't know if there's a big divide between the quarterbacks. I don't know if internally they believe Payton gives you some significantly better chance than Hank, which is what makes this conversation a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you that you don't judge Hank over on one half of, especially his very first half against an SEC defense.
Yeah.
Where we all sort of knew what the game plan was going to be to put pressure on him and so on and so forth. And
now I will say, and this goes for Payton too in the Cal game.
Yeah.
Where when you're turning the ball over at an incredible rate, and I know the offense is the offense, and as a coach, you need to put some pressure on your players to run what's called and to run what's practiced and all of that.
Yeah.
But when it's an issue and you feel so good about your running game, I mean, Auburn's running at a pretty awesome clip right now. But really, the offense is running at an awesome clip. It's just the turnovers are just devastating, and the amount of turnovers are just devastating. You got to think there's going to be more true runs called. Yeah. This weekend. You've got to think that, especially in a game when you play Oklahoma. I mean, both teams have a ton of questions about their offense, and both teams feel pretty good about their defense. This is gonna be a physical football game that does slant towards the defenses. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. And so points are going to be at a premium. Points are going to be rare and hard to come by.
Yeah.
And if Auburn turns the ball over like they have been against Oklahoma, this is over. It's over quick. And so to me, you've got to call plays and you've got to be a little bit more conservative and you've got to run the football. And if you have to punt, you got to punt because that's better than a lot of how the possessions ended against Arkansas and against Cal.
Yeah. And Hugh Freeze said sort of something similar on Tiger Talk last night. It's similar in the sense that throw the ball away, take an incompletion, that you'd rather take an incompletion than try to force something in there or throw the ball away. Just get rid of it and don't try to make something happen in the passing game if that's the play that's called.
Yeah, and I do feel better. The more you look at the stats, the better I feel.
Yeah.
Which I think is what we're going to talk about in a second. As well as Aaron Murray, I think has done a great job breaking down Auburn's quarterbacks this year as far as posting some videos on that. And the one he put up breaking down Hank and Payton, you can see what they're seeing in most situations. Either Hank got, just missed a guy or there is thought process going involved. It's not a situation with Hank for sure. Then Payton's pick this past game wasn't really his fault.
Right.
But it's not like they're staring a dude down in the case of last week. They're not staring a guy down and they're just locked in on him. That's not what we saw this past week. It does look like they're trying to run the progression.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bad thing happened 3 times to Hank, and then obviously once to Payton.
Yeah.
And so, like, how much blame do you need to do on all of that? Because it doesn't sound like the film review was as dramatic as we might have thought.
Yeah. Or as dramatic as it was after the Cal game, which
Yes.
is like
it feels different.
I agree. And I think that's the case to be made for Hank to be the starter.
I'm with you.
I think the case to be made for Payton, if you're interested in that, I'll pause while everybody throws tomatoes at the screen. I think the case that you make for Payton is that he did come in and engineer your 2 scoring drives a week ago against a defense that is more complex and multiple, to start with a more veteran quarterback against the different fronts and different pressures and the more complex defense that Oklahoma is going to bring, maybe makes you a little more comfortable starting the game. Again, the Cal game is the anomaly in terms of the number of interceptions. I understand decision-making and things of that nature, but if you're just looking at the interceptions, the Cal game is an absolute, unquestioned anomaly.
Right.
I also think if you're going to try to run the ball more, period, then Payton's obviously the better runner. And so you have a little more of the, the read game, the RPO. In the run game, Payton gives you a little more of an advantage in that he's another option and a better option there. So, as I said last week, Zach, I want the Auburn quarterback to go out and succeed, whichever one it is.
100%.
I'm not a Payton guy. I'm not a Hank guy. I'm an Auburn quarterback guy. So whoever's out there, that's who I want to do it. And
no question.
I think you can make a case for either. And I think that's what's
Me too.
interesting.
Me too. And I do think it depends on like what the offensive game plan is too. Like if you're going to do the RPO thing, I do think Hank is going to be better at doing the checks as far as the run to pass. I mean, Freeze has essentially said that.
Yeah.
If it's the situation where you're going to need to run the football and that's the game plan, and you want to incorporate quarterback runs in that, then Payton's the answer. I think it just kind of depends on what they need to do moving forward.
What I'd love for us to get away from is one versus the other. They're both Auburn quarterbacks.
Sure. I'm with you there.
And that's, that we'll get into that a little bit more after I tell you about our friends at Barner Supply Company.
Gosh,
I'm telling you,
incredible.
If you haven't gotten your gear yet from our friend Matt and the guys at barnersupply.com, you need to go ahead and do that. They have some awesome shirts. They have hats. They have those stickers you can put anywhere. You can stick them on your hat or your shirt if you want to. That's right. If you're an alumnus, then you grab yourself one of those stickers. I've got them on the water bottle.
The what?
The water bottle. That's what I was going for. Attempting to go for. I don't know what I actually said.
Yeah.
I had a friend in
water
school.
Botter, I think is what you said.
I had a friend in school, my best friend in school, called Motorcycles Mobby Dobbies. And I think that's what I was going for right there with the water bottle. BarnerSupply.com. If you buy a hat and a koozie and you put it, you put our promo code Village Vice, no spaces, run them all together, Village Vice. You won't pay anything for the koozie. That'll be free. You'll only pay for the hat. Lots of you have taken advantage of this promo code here in the month of September, and we only have a week to go in the month of September. So take advantage of that while you still can. BarnerSupply.com. Barner's making gear for Barners. Somebody said in the comments yesterday, like, don't y'all realize that's a derogatory term? No, it's not.
You know who makes it offensive? You.
Yeah.
You do.
You can choose to be offended by it, or you can choose to say, no, Barner means honest, hardworking, blue collar, like go out and get the job done like Auburn people do.
That's right.
And that's what we do. So
that's right.
All right.
That's right.
Couple of other things, Zach, that I wanted to bring up on the show today. There's been some unnecessary drama the last few days. I can't stand unnecessary drama. I think life gives you enough drama on its own without needing to incorporate drama to your favorite football team. So a couple of things that have come up. We talked about one of these yesterday. Hugh Freeze throws his players under the bus. No, he doesn't. Go back and watch the press conferences, listen to the interviews. What other people are trying to stir as Hugh Freeze throwing players under the bus, I can very easily call it, just holding players accountable, giving them ownership in the organization.
Yeah.
Which I think we all want in our jobs and in all walks of life. And he doesn't make any comments without also saying we need to coach it better. We need to evaluate the scheme. We need to evaluate what we're calling. He took us through Tiger Talk last night, Zach. He took us through the process of all of the checks and, is it too complex a scheme or is it? No, they go through them with the quarterbacks and they go, are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with this check? The interception thrown over the middle was Hank's favorite route. It's his favorite route to throw, favorite play to run, favorite check to make, whatever. And you just overthrew it a little bit. Like, it's going to happen sometimes. But Ian throws players under the bus. The other little bit of unnecessary drama was, Auburn doesn't welcome back its former players. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. They don't give them all free tickets to everything, but they welcome back their former players. You see former players back at every single game. You see them back sometimes at practices. I've seen them. They're there. Now, they had some turnover in the Letterman's Club this year. The person who kind of headed up the operation took a different job with the university. And so, like, if you have a sales job and now you leave that job and somebody else comes in and they take over all your accounts, sometimes it takes a little while to get the communication in place, and it may not run exactly like it did before, but this idea that former players aren't welcome back is just not like, let's chill with taking everything we hear and running with it like it's true because our football team's 2-2 instead of 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessary. The other part, the one last thing that I wanted, I've got two more. Can I do two more after you
go ahead?
Throw back.
Okay. I'm just here for you. Yep.
I know. I appreciate it. But you know what? You're looking sharp in your rowback gear.
Oh, we're going to talk about that in a second. Are we talking about that now or in a second?
Let's do that now. Let's do it now.
Rowback.com. This is one of the quarter zips that I've got. Big fan of it. Rowback.com, RHOBACK.com. Use promo code VICE20 for 20% off your order. They've got hoodies. They've got collared shirts. They've got quarter zips. They've got shorts and pants and everything you could possibly want to look good, to feel good, and to be good. Rowback.com. Use promo code VICE20 for 20% off your order. And thank you for supporting the show.
That's right. Gear for men and women. Hey, guys watching, get stuff for the ladies in your life.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, and order stuff for yourself too.
And for yourself. Right. Vice 20. Don't you dare pay 100% for it either. Vice 20.
Please don't.
Okay. All Hugh Freeze teams have turned the ball over. Zach, have you heard this in the last couple of days?
I heard that specifically from Bo Wallace, former Ole Miss quarterback.
Right. Okay. Can I give you the turnover margins for the Ole Miss teams coached by Hugh Freeze?
Please. I mean, yeah, Bo Wallace asked us to go back and look.
Okay.
So I'm glad that you did that.
All right. So here they are. Ready?
Yes.
All right. He coached 5 Ole Miss teams. So here are your 5 turnover margins.
Got
plus 7.
Okay.
Plus 2.
Okay.
Plus 7.
Okay.
0. So flat out even. And minus 3 in his last year of 2016.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds like a team that just turns it, like that's what they do. It's their identity. They turn the ball over all the time.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
But I will, just to play devil's advocate.
Sure.
That was when that Land Shark defense was really popping because it was just loaded with Kandichi and a lot of those guys. And so I don't know this, but I assume they were good at forcing turnovers. I don't know that. And so that's going to impact the turnover differential, but that's the only thing I could think to kind of poke a hole in that.
No, and it is. And there were a few of those years where the interception numbers were a little bit high, like 14 and 15, and they were, they were up there.
Sure.
But if Auburn's defense was out there plus 4 in turnovers too, to balance out the interceptions,
it's not as noticeable for sure.
Nowhere near as noticeable, and you're probably still 4-0.
Okay.
So 7, 2, 7, 0, and -3. Now, at Liberty, there's 1 year at Liberty, 2021, they were -11 in turnovers. They lost like 9 fumbles and they had interceptions. Like it was that's a year that jumps out.
And that's funny because Bo Wallace was like excluding his time at Liberty. And it's like, well, maybe
Yeah.
actually worse at Liberty.
Yeah. Well, that 1 year, like, trumps every other year.
Was that a Malik Willis year? Do you know?
I don't think so. I think it was after Malik, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I'd have to go back.
Green Bay Packer legend Malik Willis.
Sure. Titans just sick that they let him get away.
They really got to figure it out with Will Levis, so that's good.
I just kind of wanted to bring those numbers up because, yeah, when you hear that, again, you hear something or you read something on social media when you're already in a heightened state of emotion because your team lost and you didn't expect them to. And you go, well, yeah, they just see that's something else wrong.
Is that the voice of public opinion that you just did?
It's the voice of some, not all.
Okay.
Not all. I don't want to lump everybody into that.
Okay.
And another reason I don't want to lump everybody into it is because I don't think social media represents 100% of reality. And I'll give you another example of that.
Real quick.
Sure.
If the main reason you have Twitter or social media is to follow your Auburn Tigers, which a lot of people I know is like the only reason I get on Twitter is to see what y'all are posting or whatever. Sign up for thebarnauburn.com.
Yeah.
It filters all this crap for you, and we tell you what you need to know, and it makes it onto that board. Just try it. The first month is $1. Goes up to like $9 a month after that. I promise you're going to think it's worth it. I promise you. So go to thebarnauburn.com and check us out over there. It's the best message board in the Auburn market right now.
I think one of the issues we run into is we go to social media to complain. And so if you spend a lot of time there, you think that everybody is doing everywhere is complaining.
Well, you're going to get what you're looking for.
Correct.
Right? Like if you want to melt because like Auburn is vastly underachieving this year.
Yeah.
One, you're correct, and it's fine for you to feel that way. But if you all, and this is something Kyle put in the barn earlier today. Let me find it. Here it is. Kyle said, if I told you before the season that through 4 games that Auburn offensively would have 462 yards per game, that's 27th in college football, 1,136 passing yards, that's top 20, it's 19th.
Yeah.
Over 8 yards per play, 13 passing touchdowns, that's tied with Ole Miss for 5th, 284 passing yards per game, and over 6 yards per carry. It's like, wow. And like that's he didn't include like the chunk plays, the explosive plays metric that Hugh Freeze talked about a good bit on Monday. But Auburn's towards the top of the country on that.
Yep. And
it's like just fix the turnovers. If you fix the turnovers, like this offense, it's decent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 9 players that have caught a touchdown pass. Nobody else in the country has done that this year. Flip a switch and fix the turnovers. The point that I guess that I was trying to make, this last little point is there was some question last night about what the atmosphere was going to be for the coaches show. It's like 5 straight weeks we're here, and what's the if people are everybody's frustrated is all you ever see on social media. It's just everybody's frustrated. And then we get to the show last night, and the coach walked in and he got a standing ovation. And the vibe could not have been more supportive and positive. Now, look, I get it's an Auburn show for Auburn people, and the people who make the effort to come to that show.
Yeah, they love it. They love the program. 100%.
Yeah, they're like by nature, and we had first timers there last night too. But if you make that decision to come out to the restaurant and you're there live and in person, by nature, you're a little more geared that way. But still, this idea that like, oh, everybody's coming unhinged and falling off and everybody's done it's just not true. There's a segment that's like that. That segment's the minority. Need to beat Oklahoma, need to win some more games, clearly, because it is a performance-based business.
Yeah.
But this idea that the saddles slip in and the world's coming to an end, that's not what I saw last night. And that's not what you see when you look at the stats and some of these other things we've discussed today that are in place.
Yeah.
So it's okay to take a deep breath, and it's okay. Yeah. There you go. All right. That was all I wanted to get off my chest today.
What's your favorite thing to order at Baumhauer's when y'all do Tiger Talk?
Bada bing pizza with no mushrooms.
Okay.
Pepperoni, sausage, onion, green pepper.
Did you see my pizza power rankings over the weekend?
No.
You didn't?
No.
You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, please.
All right. So I ranked the top 5 pizza places in town.
Okay. Let me
I had Johnny Brusco's at 1.
Okay.
I had Baumhauer's at 2.
Okay.
I had Mellow Mushroom at 3. Little Italy at 4. And Dough at 5.
I've only been to Dough once, and it was good. It was good. It was very similar to Mellow Mushroom.
Yes. But like for them to only, and I haven't been in a hot minute, so they may have added more, but for them to only have pizza.
Yeah.
The pizza wasn't good enough for me. Where it was just like, I don't think I'm going to come back here.
But it was better than the others that you could have put, but it still made still top 5.
Well, I also think in making this list, like, I don't think we have a whole lot of really strong pizza options in town.
You're not putting the chains in there. There's no chain that would go above any of those.
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
I love the ownership at Domino's, by the way, in case this gets back to him. And it's my son's favorite. I think I like your list fine. I would move probably Little Italy up to 2. Although I like the pizza at Baumhauer's too. It's that's what I order. That's my go-to every time that I'm there. It's unbelievable. Otherwise, yeah, I'd probably put Brusco's 1 and Little Italy.
I love Johnny Brusco's.
Yeah,
I mean, it is my favorite.
Yeah, I went there Friday night. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. Service is always good. It seems like everybody's always in a good mood there.
Yeah,
I don't know what's up with that. And it doesn't matter which one you go to. Everybody's always happy.
It's a nice little experimental thing they got going on there.
I guess so. Good for them. Good for them. All right. That does it for today's show.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching and liking and commenting. We'll read them all. I'll read them all. And remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.